Hey folks, in today's episode, we might briefly explain what the weather is doing to us. Keri and I are at each other's throats. Somebody's been chewing in our tarp on our wood pile. I've pulled this back, and that is pack rat nests. Been wondering why Zoe's been hanging around the wood pile. And this is why, because she knows there's something in there about her size that she can take out. So the pack rats have been chewing our plants, packing the fodder here. And then if you look at this little log here, I'm sure it's amazing. There's a little nest. But Zoe might get that thing.
Hey, welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, I am Keri and this is Douglas. Last year in 2022, we sold basically everything we own, including our house, and we moved to our off-grid homestead property out here in southeast Arizona, Cochise County, and we are homesteading basically from complete scratch. So we are learning a lot along the way, and we have a lot to share with you. So make sure and subscribe, and you can learn along with us.
Yeah, so over the past few 4 days, it's been just completely disgusting outside. I'm not one that would have the weather keep me from working outside usually, but this is cold, wet, little icy, and very, very muddy.
And windy.
Yeah, and windy, very windy.
Yeah.
It's just keeping us indoors. We're trying to figure out things to do that will keep us busy. Stuff that we could be doing on the homestead inside, drawing, blueprints, etc., etc.
Yeah, research.
Shopping.
Yeah, we've done a little shopping. One of the big things that we purchased, and we bought this generator actually. We bought 2 generators, 3 actually. We have a solar generator that we keep in the trailer. We have a video about that and what we use that for. And then we have a small generator, which is, I think it's 3,800 watts that we bought that runs on diesel. And we've been using that actually when we don't get enough sunshine and we need to kind of boost up the batteries in the trailer. We plug it into that generator. But we also have been using that generator to run our tools, and we've been needing it specifically up where we're building the chicken coop, and we're running the concrete mixer and anything else, just the concrete mixer, right?
Yeah, mostly.
Yeah, mostly the concrete mix. So Doug has been taking it back and forth every day, and I think last week I'm like, I feel like that's kind of annoying and it's a pain. It's just awkward. He puts it on the tractor and drives it up there, so it's not like he's carrying it up there, but it's just kind of inconvenient. So I'm like, we should get the big one out of storage, hook it up to the trailer, and then just leave the other one at the build site. So we've got it. It's always more convenient that way. So we bought this big guy, really not to run the trailer. We bought this big guy to run our house when we need to. Down the road, but we didn't see any reason why we couldn't use it now. So that's all set up. And what do you think so far about this other generator?
It's got a learning curve to it, but it's not as simple to start up as the smaller generator, but we've only used it for a couple days. It seems to charge up the batteries on the trailer really fast.
Yeah.
But it's definitely not something you're going to want to move around. That thing weighs close to 300 pounds. I went down to pick it up out of storage, and I actually had to take my tractor jack off the roof of my car, put it underneath just to get this thing up over the lip of the back bumper of my car to get it in. So it was not fun.
I just want everybody to know I offered to help. And he's like, oh no, I got it. And I'm thinking, yeah, I remember when they brought that pallet or that out to us, they used a pallet jack and it was really heavy. So anyway, it's all set up and it's way more, it puts out way more watts. As you can see, it's like, I think On propane, it hits 11,400 watts, and with gas, it can run at 12,000 watts, which is, I mean, we could probably run 4 of our trailers on this thing. So,
Yeah.
and it's a push button start. See, I think it's easier to start. I'm not sure why we disagree with that, but it's just a push button start, so I find it a little easier. You don't have to pull the cord like you do on the other one.
So as we've been stuck in here, getting on each other's nerves, we decided to get on the internet and start buying things. So we're like, what do we really need for the chicken coop? And we found these cups. In our past coops in Colorado, we had just a little drip nipples where they just peck at it and it gives them a little drip of water. But Keri did some research on these, I believe, and she said that they were a better product. You drill like this looks like a 1/4 inch or something, hole into the PVC pipe, and then you install these by threading them in. And they just sit here and they tap them down and it gives them water. So this will be it will have really good control over the water coming from the cistern, so we're not wasting any water. They'll only get the amount of water that they can drink out of. Now, the one thing I could see that could be a problem with these is if we put these below any of the roosting nests up above, they could be, putting their droppings in here. But so we're going to have to put these in a place where we have we're not going to put any shelving above the water feeders or the food feeder, so they can't do that and pollute their own water,
Yeah, because they will do that. And I just wanted to talk about why we decided a little bit more about why we decided on these. These allow the chickens to actually dip their beak into the water. The water kind of pools up in here. And I think just being out here in the desert, we lived in the high desert also in Colorado, so it gets hot there too, but out here it's a little bit less humidity, I think, out here, so chickens can go through a lot of water, especially in the summer and stuff. So we just want to make sure that they have access to good, clean, fresh, convenient water that's best for them, I guess, because they really, if they had a choice between the chicken nipple, which is just the little thing that hangs down and they peck at it, or dipping their beak in like a bucket, like in the dog water bowl, they would much prefer that. They will go for the dog water bowl every time. So we thought maybe this might work out better. We'll keep you posted on that. We're going to do a video when we plumb the coop, so you'll have a good idea of how we're setting it up.
And if anybody's used these before, you can leave a comment down below and let us know how they work for you.
Yeah, we would love to hear from you.
Okay, the other thing, while Keri was visiting her mother, I decided to get on the internet and order a diamond blade for when we're going to be cutting bottles. So you can't just use a regular blade for that. So I kind of did my research and found a blade that was dry and wet cut for ceramic tile and glass. And I thought I got the greatest blade and everything. I waited 10 days for it to come in. It's a 12-inch blade and my table saw only fits a 10-inch blade, so we had to reorder that in the right size. I was going to just attach it to my miter saw, but I think that'd be a little on the dangerous side, because as opposed to where you're using the table saw, you're basically just rolling it on the blade. The miter saw would be bringing it down. You'd have to put it down gently, and we've heard bad things that the glass will shatter and all this stuff like this. But so we had to reorder that. So the bottle cutting won't go on for at least, I think they said 7 days for it to get here. But when it gets in, we will be proceeding by cutting those bottles, getting them ready for that bottle wall up on the hill.
Yep. One of the things that I've been doing as we're stuck in the trailer together is doing a lot of reading and research. And one of the things that I'm really interested in doing, and we actually been interested in it for a long time, but we didn't really have the space in Colorado, but we're really interested in beekeeping. And there's so much information out there. We actually have watched several videos on YouTube by this guy that wrote this book. His name is Dr. Leo Sharaskin, if I'm saying that right. But he keeps bees naturally and very non-invasively. So you're not going to see him feeding his bees sugar water or really doing any intervention as far as chemicals or things like that. He keeps his bees very naturally, and he's been very successful at it. And I think he's been a beekeeper since he was a kid. But he's from Russia, and they do things a little differently in Europe with the way their hives are structured. So he has a website. It is, I think it's called horizontalhive.com. And he's got a lot of really good information on there. So, but I'm also reading this book of his. It's called Keeping Bees with a Smile, Principles and Practice of Natural Beekeeping. Right here. It's really interesting. And it's really interesting how it ties in with how the bees have kind of been vanishing over the years and why. He gets into that also. So I'll let you guys know what we end up doing. I think I'm going to buy or I'm going to build some of the boxes. He's got instructions actually on his website that are free that show you exactly how you can build the horizontal style hive. You can also buy them on his website, but we're going to go the budget route and build some instead. So
yeah, and we got the property for keeping bees. I mean, and we have all this creosote which flowers at a certain time in the year. So we're not worried about the bees getting enough food or anything like that. And actually with our circumstances, having so much rock where we cannot really farm into the soil, we could do above ground and stuff like that. But we are limited to our options of what we can keep here. So that's why we were discussing doing sheep, chickens, and maybe bees, which would be something we wouldn't have to do anything about. We just set it and forget it, basically. Go in there, harvest the honey once in a while and the wax, and it might be something that's pretty practical for our situation. It might not be good for everybody's situation, but when you don't have the great soil, you have all the stone that we have limited things that we can actually get away with here.
Yeah, and there's a big concern. I've been just chatting with various people in the area. There's a big concern about bees that are here are Africanized, which I've seen information that says that they brought Africanized bees came over in the 50s, I believe it was, that they were imported. And a lot of people are saying that every bee here in the U.S. now, honeybees, are Africanized. So it's more about, I guess, about how you handle them. Although we've heard horror stories too, and I don't want us to get into that situation. It sounds to me like they will be aggressive if they don't have enough resources, meaning food or water. So I'm also going to be looking into amending the stuff in the area. We do have tons of creosote, like Doug mentioned, but I'm going to look at planting stuff that they love to eat also to make sure they've got plenty of food. The way this Dr. Sharaskin does things, he only gets into the hive twice a year. I think it's spring and summer. And the rest of the year, he just lets them do their thing. And it's actually pretty cool. So excited to share more on that with you guys.
All right. So when we lived in Colorado, our backyard was basically a developing food forest. So I would, on a yearly basis, I'd buy cover crop seed. And that was like hairy vetch and clover and peas, cow peas and stuff like that to just seed all over my hugel mounds. And we were thinking that up there where I've been destroying the earth, basically ripping out the bushes and that for that chicken coop, we want to reseed that whole area when we're all done with native seed that is found in southeast Arizona anyhow. So we did a lot of that researching while we've been sitting in here in our gloomy trailer in this gloomy weather, not being able to do anything else. We started looking at seeds, so in bulk.
Yeah, we found a company here in Arizona. I think they're out of Phoenix or somewhere up in there, and this company is pretty cool. You can put in the area of the country that you live and they will recommend the seed for you. And we specifically were looking for bulk forage seed. So like Doug said, we're going to be reseeding for the chickens and poultry because we'll probably have turkeys at some point too. So we bought quite a lot of seed. I think we bought around 400 pounds. But it's not just for the chicken area, it's also for other parts of the property as well. So I'm just going to read my list because I can't remember anything anymore these days. So the company name, and we'll put this link down below, anything that we reference, like the chicken, the water cups, the book, the seeds, anything like that, we'll put links down below. if you guys are interested in checking them out. So we bought from naturesseed.com, and we ended up buying, also we bought a large quantity of sheep forage seed. And this is all seeds that are native here, which is really important to us. So we bought the poultry forage seed, the sheep forage seed. We also bought red and white clover, and then we bought forage radish, which is great to grow here, and that will actually kind of help bust up the drier parts of the ground. We bought quite a bit of that. And then we also bought chicory forage seed. And chicory is, if you look it up, chicory is actually really, really good for sheep. It helps with parasites. It helps with all sorts of stuff. So it's a good cover crop to plant also.
Yeah, and another purpose of that, the purpose of some of these ground cover is to actually grow a big root in the soil.
Mm-hmm.
It breaks it up. You can chop and drop it. You can let the tubers stay underground, and it will be eaten or it'll rot away and leave a big air pocket, so that later on, when other seeds come off of this stuff, it'll just drop in that hole and it'll germinate. And hopefully that's the plan. Germinate this hill with enough fodder for the sheep and stuff like that. And the good thing about this cover crop too is it sells seeds. So this year we're hoping that we can drop down all this stuff and just let nature spread it throughout the property, and hopefully we'll never have to buy this kind of ground cover seed again. All right, so when you live in a small little trailer like this and the weather is gloomy and you can't go outside, at least in a house, we could walk around, we could go in other different rooms and stuff like that. Here you actually have two doors, one going outside and one going to the bathroom, right? And there's no division, there's no privacy, there's no getting away, so to say. So even if you love each other dearly and everything, you're going to start getting on each other's nerves, right? And that's kind of what's been going on. We're waiting for the sun to come out so I can jump on Bonnie and get back to work up on the hill, you know, before we both start going crazy.
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the reasons, and this is kind of a reality check for those of you considering living like this, it's really not that bad, but there are times when you're just stuck inside. And one of the reasons I agreed to do this was because we were going to be outside so much. But there's just sometimes when you can't do that. So you're just kind of stuck in this really small space. So we're actually doing okay, but we're trying to keep ourselves busy. You know, we're Generation X, so we have to always be doing something. But we're getting through it. The sun is supposed to start coming back out, but it's going to be cold. We're kind of in a cold spell right now, like high of 50 during the day.
Yeah, it's going to be cold, and that just means the mud's not going to harden up. It's going to stay sloppy and and the mud here, when it gets on your boots, it doesn't just like you don't just get a thin layer of mud on your boots. It gets a thin layer, then another layer, then another layer, until you're having to slop that mud off your boots. And you cannot walk 20 feet without having 3 inches of mud on your boots. So
yeah,
it's just like that. And the tractor can deal with the mud. I could basically get on the tractor and go out there, but sitting there not moving and just turning a steering wheel, you're not generating a lot of heat. So, and I didn't bring a minus 30 below zero jacket to Arizona. I brought like this 20-degree thing, and if we're at 15 degrees, it's a very uncomfortable ride on the tractor when you're working out there. But I digress.
Yep, but hopefully we're going to get back outside soon and get back to work.
Yep.
Hey, thanks so much for sticking around to the very end. We really would love it if you would subscribe if you haven't yet. And if you know somebody that might be interested in this lifestyle, feel free to share our video. We would be honored if you would do that. And make sure and comment below if you have any questions at all about what's going on, or, you know, we try to give you guys the reality of everything and not sugarcoat it. So anyway, thanks again for hanging out to the end.